Am I too old for a Virgin Voyages cruise? Am I too uncool? Is the cruise ship too risque for me? And is the food as good as they say? These are just some of the questions that I got before going on my second Virgin Voyages cruise. If you're considering sailing with Virgin Voyages, this is the video that you need to watch before you go. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, we recently got back from our second Virgin Voyages cruise. We were sailing on board Scarlet Lady on an 11-day Mediterranean cruise. Now, it's actually been a little bit over 2 years since we first sailed with Virgin Voyages, and I was aware that some of the things had changed. As well, Scarlet Lady had made some updates to the cruise ship. And in this video, I'll share a review of our experience as well as answer some of the most common questions that people have. So we'll go over the cruise ship design and decor, the cabins, the entertainment and activities, the food and dining, of course, the cruise ship and itinerary, the overall vibe, and who is sailing with us on this cruise and who I think this cruise ship is for. Now, Virgin Voyages invited us on this cruise. However, all opinions are my own. Now, before I get started, I wanted to mention two things. Firstly, if you're planning on sailing with Virgin Voyages, and if it's your first time, let me know down below. Just say first time. And if you've already been before, let me know as well. And secondly, if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. So first, a little bit about Virgin Voyages. Virgin Voyages has 3 ships going on 4, and all of the cruise ships look quite similar. Now, we were sailing on Scarlet Lady, and they have recently made some updates, so I will share some of those and my impressions in this video. Now, in terms of the ship size, their ships are approximately 110,000 tons, and these days that would be probably considered like a mid-size cruise ship. And I feel like this is something that isn't mentioned very much, but it's definitely something that we noticed during this cruise, and I will share why a little bit later. In terms of capacity, there are approximately 2,700 passengers on board with just under 1,200 crew. Now, our cruise was an 11-night Mediterranean cruise that began in Barcelona, but more on the ports and the itinerary and what we absolutely loved and did later on in the video. Embarkation day. Embarkation day started off nice and easy since embarkation on Virgin Voyages is in the early part of the afternoon. Woohoo! There's nothing like embarkation day. Today we're boarding Virgin Voyages Scarlet Lady for an 11-day Mediterranean cruise. We're here in Barcelona at the cruise terminal. Let's get on board. We headed to the port around 1:30. Boarding was pretty fast and easy. We got our muster drill done right away. After that, we headed to our cabin, took a quick look around, and then we dropped off our bags. We will go back later to the cabin, so I will show it to you. And then we headed up to the galley. Now, the galley on Virgin Voyages is, instead of a buffet, it's sort of like these food stations where you can either order your food right there or you can go wait at a table, which is what we decided to do. And you can order with a crew member. We found that service was throughout our entire cruise pretty fast and efficient. And by the way, for anybody that has sailed with Virgin Voyages in the past, we found that this was something that had improved over our first time on board a couple of years ago. Ship decor and design. Now, we took advantage of embarkation day to explore the entire ship. But throughout the 11 days that we were on board, we definitely enjoyed so many spaces. And in fact, even up till the last couple of days on board, we were continuing to discover new favorites. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Virgin Voyages Scarlet Lady is a mid-size ship. And we really found that for this itinerary, it was absolutely perfect. Now, one of the things that we really liked is that when we did get to a cruise port of call, we only had, a little bit over 2,500 passengers that were getting on and off. And it really did mean that getting on and off the ship was pretty quick, was never very crowded. And at most of the cruise ports of call, there was only 1 ship or sometimes 2 ships. So even the cruise ports weren't very crowded. And this actually did make it one of the most pleasant cruise travel experiences that we have had in years. Now, something that you'll notice on board Virgin Voyages is that all of the different venues really have their own personality, their own decor, and their own theme. Now, some of the areas that we really ended up enjoying were the social. Now, the social ended up being a place that I was a little bit surprised that we had so much fun in. But oftentimes after dinner, we would go to the social. Sometimes we did trivia. We often would sit at the little bar and maybe eat some candies, or we'd play some games. It was really a lot of fun. And by the way, in that area, not only are you going to find games, but you're also going to find a free arcade, which we realize is just one of the things that makes this cruise ship feel like a bit of an adult playground. Now, I don't mean that in the way that it might sound, but even when we did board the cruise ship, we had noticed that on one of the top decks, there was like a seesaw, there was a swing, and it just really was fun to discover all of these things around the cruise ship. Now, the other area on the cruise ship that we really loved is the dock. Now, the dock is on deck 7 at the very aft of the cruise ship. It is such a beautiful space. Now, there are these lounge type seatings, and one of the things that I noticed this time that I guess I didn't notice the last time are the couches that they have as well. I actually don't know if they were there the last time, but I did really like that. They also have these wooden, almost like an Adirondack style chairs. They are a little bit low to the ground, but if you are sitting in this area with a view on the wake, it is absolutely beautiful. Now, by the way, they serve some really nice upscale snack foods at the dock, but between 3:30 and 5:30, it is OPA hour. And if you are a lover of Greek food, this is so good. It took us about 3 days to figure out that this food was offered during these times. But after that, every time that we were on board for those hours, we made sure we were there. The Red Room and the Manor. Now, that is where you're going to have your entertainment, your shows. And something pretty cool about the Red Room is it's a little bit of a transformative theater. So you will have different shows, and the configuration of the seats is very different depending on what you're seeing. Now, I'll share some details about the entertainment, what we thought, and the shows that you don't want to miss. There was an absolutely beautiful lounge that was just outside the social and before the dock. Unfortunately, I don't remember the name of it, but they often had karaoke here, and oftentimes people would just be sitting down and maybe there was a performer that was singing. And another area that we ended up really loving for a drink at the end of the night was the champagne bar. I absolutely love the decor and comfortable seating along the windows. Now, heading up to the top deck, there are 2 pools. Now, there is the main pool, which to be honest is a small pool, but we did always find that there was quite a lot of seating, not only in the main area of the pool, but also on the deck directly above. So that was definitely a good thing. But what we ended up finding out is we really liked the round aquatic pool. Now, I didn't notice this the first time that I sailed on this cruise ship a couple of years ago, but that pool is actually, at least in my mind, a bit of a thalotherapy pool, meaning that there are jets and really nice warmer water. So just going and soaking in that pool really feels therapeutic. And during our cruise, we found this to be the pool that was much less crowded. Now, you also have Richard's Rooftop. So if you are a guest that is staying in a suite, you have access to the exclusive Richard's Rooftop. We did have a chance to go in here, and it really was quite beautiful. And something that they have between the hours of 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. is a sort of happy hour where there is Moet champagne and other select drinks. Now, in Richard's Rooftop, you're going to find 2 hot tubs, but as well in other areas of the cruise ship, you're going to find hot tubs. So definitely take time to explore the ship and find those hidden and lesser known and less busy gems. All right, let's talk about dining, and then don't worry, we are going to be talking about the entertainment and parties as well. Dining. Now, I think I already mentioned earlier in this video that I really liked the galley in terms of the service, but the food in the galley, probably some of the best, if not maybe the best galley / buffet casual food on a cruise ship. It really is very good. Now, I had for breakfast French toast one morning, and I swear I exclaimed to Frank and Ethan, my family, that, wow, I think this was the best French toast that I've ever eaten. But all of the other food is really good as well. You're going to find these bento boxes, which I think is pretty cool, with sushi for lunch, with fruit in the morning. And by the way, just because a couple of people actually asked me, they said, is all of the food served in these plastic boxes? So no, it is not. It's just a convenience. So if you want to take your fruit back to the cabin, or you want to take some charcuterie or a salad, because there are to-go boxes in different areas of the cruise ship, you can actually do that, or you can take your food to the pool. Now, Frank really loved the burger. Ethan loved the breakfast burrito. I think he got that like almost every day. But truthfully, you can order as much food as you want. So give anything that you're thinking of a try. Now, beyond the galley and the dock that I mentioned earlier, there is other casual food that is available. So you can also go to the pizzeria and you can get freshly made pizza daily. And again, you can take it to go if you like. There's also really good quality ice cream and sorbet. And by the way, if you do want to eat breakfast at a sit-down restaurant, we did eat breakfast at the Wake, which ended up being one of my favorite places. I'll tell you about that in just a minute. And in Razzle Dazzle as well. And something that I probably should have mentioned earlier is all of the food that I am talking about, this is all included with the price on your Virgin Voyages cruise. Now, in terms of sit-down dining for dinners, we ate at the Wake, I think probably 3 times in the 11 days, maybe 4. That was definitely our favorite. The filet mignon was really, really good. And something interesting about the Wake, and this might have been at other restaurants as well, but they did have a couple of different menu items throughout the cruise, which I thought was kind of nice, because one of the things that we did find on Virgin Voyages, as much as we loved the different restaurants, and they really were specialty restaurant quality, sometimes we did feel like we wanted a little bit more variety in terms of the menu when we were on for 11 days, of course. So it was really nice when we went back to the Wake for the last night of our cruise that we had prime rib that was not even on the menu. And we had a couple of variations in soups as well. Pink Agave. Now, Pink Agave is sort of an upscale Mexican restaurant. So good. Now, something that we all really loved is they have, I think it's a ribeye steak that is covered in cheese. It is as decadent and as good as it sounds. Gumbe. Now, Gumbe ended up being a lot of fun. This is a Korean restaurant, and it's a very different theme where you're sort of playing a little bit of a drinking game at the same time, and you're not necessarily only sitting with your own party. So for instance, if you're 2 people, you'll be sitting with more people so that you end up with like 5 or 6 at the table. Now, we ended up sitting with a lovely honeymoon couple. They were so much fun. They were so nice to talk to. And we really did have a good time, not only playing this little like drinking game, and we're all not like super big drinkers, but it was just for fun, but trying all of the different foods as well. And this is something that I do think is really nice on Virgin Voyages. Every dinner is sort of an experience. So if there is something that you try and it maybe isn't your favorite, you could always go and get pizza if you want after, or go to the galley. But it does make it that each evening your dinner almost becomes part of the entertainment. There was Lucky Lotus, and on Scarlet Lady, Razzle Dazzle at nighttime has become Lucky Lotus. So this was pretty nice to have this Asian restaurant, which a lot of people really did love. Now, I loved, there was an appetizer with prawns or shrimp. I thought this was absolutely delicious, and somebody else told me a tip to order this as an appetizer and for the main dish, which we did. We really loved it. Now, Frank and Ethan absolutely loved the wonton soup. Although there were some beef ribs that, while tasty, Frank did think they were way too hot. Test kitchen. Now, please remember, this review, like all reviews, are subjective. So we did go to Test Kitchen, and what a cool decor, very cool restaurant. We were looking forward to trying this and being very open-minded, but truthfully, this just wasn't our cup of tea. And this is something that I've always heard about Test Kitchen, is that some people absolutely love it. It's certainly very interesting in terms of gastronomy. And we did meet some people on the cruise, by the way, that absolutely adored it. It was like their favorite. But for me, this was definitely a miss. And I'll be honest with you, we did head to the galley for a little bit of food after. And by the way, at the Social, you can pick up some little treats and fun foods like a hot dog, pretzel, chicken wings. And while I don't think we ever ordered that, oh, Ethan did order a hot dog and he said it was good. But what we would do is we would often, like at nighttime, pick up some little candies and little Swedish berries and jujubes and the chocolate and pecan bark. That was really, really good. Entertainment and activities. Now, we found the entertainment and activities to be very good overall and a lot of fun, but I feel like when a lot of people think about Virgin Voyages and the questions that they have in terms of if it's going to be a little bit too provocative, they are thinking about the entertainment. Now, I think maybe over the years that has changed just a little bit, but it really isn't your traditional cruise line. So it is something to keep in mind. Now, the first night, we had a pajama party. Now, we definitely had a lot of fun. There was dancing, there was drinking, and remember, this is an adult-only cruise line, so people are going to be having their own kind of fun. Now, one thing that I would say, even after the first night, because the first night, definitely a lot of people were letting loose, but we did find that for the rest of the cruise, and I'm not sure if it's because it was an 11-night cruise that was very port intensive, but we found on the most part, there were actually less parties that we noticed. They probably still did exist in some of the clubs, but we just didn't go there. We were pretty tired at night, but the cruise on the most part was actually really quite chill and relaxing. There's some of the entertainment that we really loved. And by the way, when it comes to the entertainment and when it comes to the restaurants, you'll want to reserve those. Now, the restaurants you can reserve before you get on board on your app, but if there aren't the reservations that you really want, take the time that you can get, but once you're on board, you can actually change your time or you can reserve. We actually did not reserve any of our dining until we got on board, and we just did that right away, and we were absolutely fine. And we also booked our shows, which I definitely suggest you do that right away. Now, one of the shows not to miss is Dueling Realities. Truly, I do think it might be one of the absolute best shows that you're ever going to see on a cruise. We also went to It's a Dance Party thing. I think that's what it's called. It's definitely innovative. Just expect to dance a little bit, to be on your feet, but I think that was a lot of fun. There were a couple of other production or singing, dancing type shows that were quite good. And we did go one night, I forgot to mention this, to the LOLs, like LOLs Supper Club. This was really fun. So this was a comedian, actually two comedians, and while you're eating dinner, and I had fish and chips and Frank and Ethan had steak, really we found the food to be quite good. I would say that the comedians have an adult-based show, so just keep that in mind. If you're somebody that's easily offended, you may want to skip that, but it really isn't anything unlike what you'd see on any other cruise ship after 11 p.m. Now, in addition to those bigger performances at the Red Room or at the Manor, you're also going to find a lot of musical performances around the cruise ship. There's bands that are at some of the bars, but also musical duos or a singer performing at some of the different venues. And it really is quite pleasant as you walk around the ship, or even if you sit down to relax with a drink or a coffee. Now, in terms of the activities during the day and even the evening, it seems to me that there are more activities than I recall in the past, or maybe it's just because I noticed it on this cruise ship. But there was karaoke, there was trivia, there were a lot of interactive games, and by the way, the staff was so engaging. They were absolutely great with all of the guests. I would definitely look on your planner that you can find on the app on your phone, or you can request from your cabin attendant to have printed planners if you prefer that. But I would definitely look for some of the different activities because the entertainment crew or staff are phenomenal. Now, another event that you definitely want to plan for is Scarlet Night. This is the biggest party that you're going to have on board your Virgin Voyages cruise. Now, make sure that you do bring a red outfit, so a red shirt or a red dress, anything that you want to wear that's red. It is going to be perfect. Prepare to dance, or at the very least to people watch. Okay, so I want to show you our cabin, then we'll talk about our itinerary. So in particular, if you're going on a Mediterranean cruise or thinking of it, I will share with you our itinerary. It was so good. And then we will also talk about who were the other guests that were on our cruise and who I think that this cruise ship is for. The cabin. Now, we were in a Sea Terrace cabin, and I'm going to share with you what I absolutely loved best about this cabin. But firstly, when you walk into the cabin, it's actually pretty spacious, and there is a single chair to sit in. There is sort of transformative furniture, so you're going to want to look for that. Your side table can actually become a like breakfast tray if you want, or a work table if you want to sit in bed and you want to work on your computer, which is pretty cool. Now, something that I really liked in this cabin, and I have not seen this on any other cruise ship, but it is the fact that you're going to get water filled in these carafes every single day by your cabin attendant. And there is still water if you like that, and sparkling water as well. And again, this is something included. Now, the beds were very comfortable. We were 3 people in our cabin, so we had a queen size bed for Frank and I, and Ethan had a bunk bed that came out of the ceiling. And our cabin attendant was very nice. She actually tucked that away every day. Now, before we head out onto the balcony, let's take a look at the bathroom. Now, the bathroom is definitely small but functional, but one of the nice things, and another guest actually pointed it out to me, is the fact that the shower is a really good size. Now, in terms of storage, it actually has more storage than you might think, because you have this open closet area, you have these shelves, you have these baskets, but also under the bed, you do have an extra drawer as well. Now, heading out to the balcony was my favorite part. This hammock, really, really nice. I almost wish I could have brought it home. Now, if you would like to see more of a tour of the cabin, and there are some other sort of little details about it, if you'd like to see a little bit more, please comment cabin down below, and I'll share a video of the cabin along with some tips and tricks as to how I kept it organized during my cruise in another video. Our itinerary and ports. Now, we were on an 11-day Mediterranean cruise, and I didn't even realize this when we originally booked on this cruise, but these 11 nights included 2 overnight stays. So firstly, we started in Barcelona and we ended in Barcelona, and all of the days in our cruise ports of call were long. So it really made it that we could have time to explore the ports. Now, we started our cruise in Cannes, France. We went to Mallorca, which is absolutely beautiful. Then we went to Ajjacio in Corsica. That ended up being one of my favorite ports, and it was a bit of a surprise to me because I didn't know anybody who's really gone before. And in addition to being able to walk around the streets, it is so pretty, and to stop at a cafe and eat, it is very good and honestly pretty reasonably priced. But also bring your bathing suit with you, because there is an absolutely stunning beach with clear water. Now, we had an overnight in Ibiza. So if you do want to go out to a club, and yes, we actually did that only because we thought we're only in Ibiza maybe once. So we actually went to a club with Ethan. So we ended up going to Pasha. So you could do that if you want. And we ended up going to a beach club during the day, to Nikki Beach Club. It was really such a perfect day, and the cruise ship left at 8 a.m. And no, we didn't get back to the cruise ship at 8 a.m. But I guess some people did get back a little bit closer to then. Now, some of the other cruise ports that we went to included La Spezia, where we were also overnight in that cruise port of call. So we were able to have a day that we went to the villages in Cinque Terre. So perfect. We got back to the cruise ship, and that was a night that we skipped dinner at the cruise port, and we actually ate in town at La Spezia at one of the recommendations for a restaurant. It was casual, great pizza, absolutely delicious. And the next day we still had time to visit Pisa as well. Now, as a last stop, we stopped in Rome, or Civitavecchia, because Rome is about an hour and a half from the port. Now, because we have been there just a couple of years ago when we spent a couple of days, we decided to do a food tour right in Civitavecchia, and the local food was just phenomenal. Now, if you would like to know more about any of the different cruise ports, I do have some different videos that I've taken, so I may upload those in the future. So please let me know any of the ones that you'd like to see, any of the details down below in the comments. So who was sailing with us? What was the age group? And I know that's something that people wonder about the most. Am I too old to cruise with Virgin Voyages? And I would say off the bat, you are not too old. On our cruise, we had everybody from people in their late 20s and 30s to people in their 40s and 50s to people in their 60s and 70s. We truly met just about every age group on board. And this is a topic of discussion that came up with some other people. Some people were new to cruising and they were looking for what cruise should they book on. And other people have sailed before with other cruise lines and they thought that this was a really nice itinerary, or maybe they had a chance to do that status matching that you can do with Virgin Voyages sometimes if you've sailed on other cruises, and they decided to give it a try. Now, I will tell you my thoughts as well as the thoughts and opinions of many of the other people that we met on board, because this definitely did come up a lot with other people. And the thing that most people had said is they felt that this really is an adult cruise line. And in that way, different people have different likes and different people have different dislikes, but there is so much to do and see on board that if there is something that you really want to participate in, like a party as an example with Scarlet Night, if you want to jump into the pool, you can definitely do so. If you want to people watch from a deck above, you can do that as well. If you want to dance, you can do that as well. If you want to go to bed early, that's okay too. If you want to go to the club, you can do that. And if you want to meet people that are like-minded, whether they're your age, whether they're cruising solo, you're definitely going to find a variety of people on board. The one thing that I would say is you do want to go on board with a little bit of an open mind. And if you don't like something, that maybe you just don't participate in it. Just because although the cruise experience still has a lot of similarities to other cruise line, the vibe on board is not necessarily that of a traditional cruise. Now, I hope this video was helpful. Please do let me know if you're planning on sailing with Virgin Voyages, if you're planning on doing a Mediterranean cruise, or any questions that you might have. Please do let me know down in the comments below. Now, if you did enjoy this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now and happy cruising.